One book, one extraordinary life. 48 chapters of saints, science, and the search for God.
I'm Kai,
And I'm Maya.
and this is our take on Autobiography of a Yogi, chapter by chapter.
The universe arranged into three worlds, not one physical plane, but three intersecting realms of existence, and all of it described by a man who has just left his body.
Chapter 43, Part 2. The Map of All Existence. Sri Yukteswar, now resurrected, is teaching Yogananda the structure of creation itself. And we're not talking about metaphor here. We're talking about a literal blueprint of how existence is organized across different dimensions of matter and consciousness. This is the heaviest, most cosmological chapter in the entire book.
And you know, Yogananda is in the presence of his guru. His guru has just appeared in physical form, days after burial. The man is sitting across from him talking. It's not a vision or a meditation, it's tangible. And now the guru is unpacking the mysteries he could never have explained when bound by the limitations of physical incarnation. He's free now to speak the deepest truths. This is some of the deepest metaphysical content in the entire book. A guru who has died and come back, explaining what he knows now that he's free from the physical constraints. The astral world, the causal world, the physical world. Three bodies nested inside each other like Russian dolls, but each one made of different substance, governed by different laws.
Okay, so let's unpack this because it's foundational. Sri Yukteswar starts by saying that even in the astral realm, beings die. They transition to the next level. But death in the astral world is completely different from physical death. There's no pain, no disease, just a graceful shedding of form and ascension to something subtler.
He explains that the astral being does not have to contend painfully with death, but consciousness keeps graduating to finer and finer levels. You're always evolving, always moving toward liberation. And that's the structure of the cosmos. It's an orderly progression, not chaos. That reflects Yogananda's teaching that the universe is an intelligent system of evolution, not random or mechanical.
And he explains the difference between physical, astral, and causal incarnation. Physical death is attended by the disappearance of breath and the disintegration of fleshy cells, right? That's what we know. Astral death is different. It's the disbursement of lifetrons, those manifest units of energy that constitute the life of astral beings. When a being leaves the astral plane, they shed that luminous body and pick up the causal form, which is even subtler.
So here's the structure. The physical body is made of 16 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and so on. The astral body is made of 19 subtle elements: mental, emotional, lifetronic. And the causal body is made of 35 ideas, 35 pure thought forms that God projected into the cosmos as the blueprint for everything else. Three bodies, each one progressively subtler, each one carrying consciousness to a higher frequency. It's like, here's the thing, it's a Russian doll of consciousness. Each level contains all the others.
Wait, so the physical universe we see, the solid world of atoms and cells, that's the grossest level. But it's being animated by an astral body made of vibration and lifetronic energy. And that astral body is animated by a causal body made of pure ideas. It's consciousness all the way down. Consciousness appearing as matter, then as energy, then as thought form. The ladder of creation. Every rung is real within its own frequency.
Exactly. And Sri Yukteswar explains that the adhesive force holding all three bodies together is desire. Unfulfilled desires are the root of all slavery. So a being carrying physical karma must reincarnate in a physical body. A being with only astral karma stays in the astral realms for hundreds or thousands of years. But a being who has transcended desire, who has released all attachment, that being breaks through all three containers at once and merges with God. That's the ultimate liberation.
The implications are massive. It means that what we think of as death is just an illusion. The soul never dies. It sheds the physical body, wakes up in the astral, lives there for centuries perhaps, then sheds that and enters the causal realm. The journey continues until the consciousness finally recognizes itself as the infinite source of all creation. And the span of life in the astral world is much longer than on Earth. A normal advanced astral being's average life period is 500 to 1,000 years, measured in accordance with earthly standards of time. Some yogis live several hundred years through physical incarnations. Most men die before age 60, but astral beings live much longer. And they don't have to suffer disease, aging, or unwilling death. They're free from that suffering, but they're not yet free absolutely.
Here's the thing. The teaching underneath all of this is that consciousness is the fundamental reality. Matter and energy are just consciousness expressing itself in denser forms. The Hindu scriptures call it Maya, the law of relativity, that makes the infinite appear finite, the eternal appear as time. It's not illusion in the sense of falsehood, it's a veil. The appearances are real within their own frequency, but they're not ultimate reality. Only consciousness is ultimate.
And then Sri Yukteswar goes deeper into the astral realm itself. Astral beings see the world through completely different eyes than we do. They don't see separate objects made of solid matter. They see light. They see consciousness in all its forms. When an astral being looks at what we call a tree, they see it as a materialized thought, a condensed expression of light. They can smell light, taste light, touch light. Their senses operate on a completely different frequency than ours.
He says astral desires center around enjoyment in terms of vibration. Astral beings are entranced by the sight of all creation as exhaustless expressions of changing light. They smell, taste, and touch light. Astral desires are connected with an astral being's power to precipitate all objects and experiences as forms of light or as condensed thoughts or dreams. It's almost the opposite of our world. In the physical world, I desire something external. I want a car, a house, a person. In the astral world, desire itself materializes what you want instantly.
Right, so that's actually profound. You're not enslaved to the external world, but you're enslaved to your own consciousness, your own creative power. If an astral being thinks of something, it appears. So their spiritual work is about purifying thought itself, because every thought becomes reality. The teaching is that consciousness itself is the substance of creation at every level. It's not about renunciation anymore. It's about mastery of mind.
Then there's the causal world, and this is where things get really subtle. Sri Yukteswar says the causal world is indescribably subtle. To understand it, you'd need such tremendous powers of concentration that you could close your eyes and visualize the entire astral cosmos in all its vastness, the physical cosmos in all its detail. You'd have to be able to convert or resolve the two cosmoses with all their complexities into sheer ideas. And then you'd stand on the borderline between mind and matter, the space where thought becomes form and form is recognized as thought.
I mean, just conceptually, that's almost impossible to picture. A world made of pure ideas, where consciousness doesn't just perceive reality, it materializes reality through thought alone. But Sri Yukteswar is saying, yeah, that's real. Beings live there. Souls graduate to that realm through the evolutionary process. And I'm standing before you as someone who has been there, who has moved freely in those dimensions. In the causal world, beings perceive by thought alone. A causal being creates reality instantly by thinking it. There's no time lag, no distance, no obstruction. The most colossal imaginative intelligence can skip mentally from planet to planet, but causal beings have that freedom not just in mind, but in actual reality.
So the teaching is progressive liberation. You graduate from the prison of physical matter that requires food, sleep, and constant maintenance. You move to the astral plane, which has freedom but still has desire and limitation. Then you graduate to the causal world, where you're operating at the level of pure mind. You can manifest anything instantly. And finally, you escape even the causal body and merge with the eternal. That's the whole journey.
This makes meditation make sense in a completely new way. When a yogi goes into deep states, are they actually traveling through these realms?
That's exactly right. Meditation is the technology that allows consciousness to separate from the physical body. Kriya Yoga uses the breath and spine to accelerate that process. A trained yogi can do this deliberately, travel consciously, and learn at every level of creation.
Sri Yukteswar explains that physical karma, or desires, keep a being bound to reincarnation on Earth. Those souls must inhabit a gross physical body. But astral and causal karma are different. A soul with only astral karma doesn't need to reincarnate in the physical world anymore. They stay in the astral realms and work out their astral karma. And a soul with only causal karma stays in the causal spheres, working through thought forms, through pure ideas. It's like the cosmos has built-in sorting mechanisms. Every consciousness naturally rises to the level it can sustain.
And here's where it gets really teaching dense. Sri Yukteswar talks about the unfolding of creation itself. God thought out different ideas within himself and projected them into dreams. What we call creation is Lady Cosmic Dream, sprang out decorated in all her colossal, endless ornaments of relativity. The whole universe is a dream, but it's God's dream. It's real within its frequency. And the evolutionary journey of a soul is learning to wake up from the dream, to recognize that the dreamer and the dream are one consciousness. Aha, that changes everything.
Yeah. And that's actually what modern quantum physics is starting to suggest, that consciousness shapes reality, that the observer affects the observed, that at the deepest levels, matter isn't solid, it's made of light, it's made of vibration. And that vibration is consciousness observing itself. The ancient teachings and the newest science are converging on the same truth. And he explains that in 35 thought categories of the causal body, God elaborated all the complexities of man's 19 astral and 16 physical counterparts. Everything that exists in subtle form first exists in causal form as an idea, and then by the law of relativity, by Maya, those ideas get condensed into astral forms, and those astral forms get condensed into physical forms. It's top-down creation. Consciousness becomes mind, becomes energy, becomes matter. The whole ladder in reverse. So the physical universe isn't primary, it's derivative. It's the furthest expression of the original divine thought.
And then Yogananda asks for more about the mysteries of the causal world, and Sri Yukteswar responds with something really striking. He says that souls in the causal world recognize one another as individualized points of joyous spirit. Their thought things are the only objects which surround them. Causal beings see the difference between their own thought bodies and thought universes, and can visualize a dazzling white light or a faint blue haze. They create anything by the power of cosmic mind. And here's what gets me. The joy there, it's described as absolute, pure, untainted by physical limitation or astral fantasy.
Seriously? That describes a state of being that's almost beyond our comprehension. Pure joy that's not dependent on anything external, not on pleasure or possession or achievement. It's just the joy of being itself, of consciousness recognizing its own infinite nature. That's what awaits a being who graduates to the causal realms. And in the causal realm, death and rebirth happen in thought alone. Beings feast only on eternally new knowledge, swim in the ocean endlessness of bliss, and see their thought bodies zoom past spirit-created planets and golden nebulae. It's literal description of what those beings perceive, not metaphor.
Consciousness is layered. Every being is simultaneously embodied on all three levels. The physical body is your vehicle for learning through sense experience. The astral body is your vehicle for learning through subtle energy. The causal body is your vehicle for learning through pure thought. You learn the lessons of the physical plane first. You master them, and naturally you graduate to the astral. Eventually, you graduate to the causal, where thought itself is the substance of experience.
The big insight is that matter and consciousness aren't separate. They're on a spectrum. The physical is consciousness condensed to its grossest frequency. The astral is consciousness at a medium frequency. The causal is consciousness at a subtle frequency. And the infinite itself is consciousness at no restriction whatsoever. The journey is about learning to operate at finer and finer frequencies until you escape the cycle entirely and merge with the absolute.
And Sri Yukteswar brings it full circle by explaining the nature of karma. Physical karma keeps you bound to physical reincarnation. You have unresolved desires from the physical plane, so you come back to Earth. But here's the thing. The spiritual path isn't about denying desire. It's about transcending it through wisdom. You understand that all desires are the same desire in different forms, the desire to reconnect with infinite consciousness. Once you understand that, all individual desires lose their power. They dissolve. That's real renunciation, not suppression, understanding.
That's why the Bhagavad Gita teaches that you can be engaged in the world, taking action, living fully, as long as you're not attached to the fruits of your action. You understand that you're not the doer. Consciousness is doing everything through you. Your ego is just a thought form. Once you realize that, you can act without binding yourself to karma anymore. He says that many beings remain for thousands of years in the causal cosmos. By deeper ecstasies, the freed soul withdraws itself from the little causal body and puts on the vastness of the causal cosmos. All the separate eddies of ideas, particularized waves of power, intuition, calmness, self-control, concentration, melt into the ever-joyous sea of bliss. No longer does the soul have to experience its joy as an individualized wave of consciousness. It's merged in the one cosmic ocean, with all its waves' eternal laughter, thrills, and throbs.
So the final liberation, the moksha that all yogis speak of, is this recognition. The soul realizes that the physical cosmos is not primarily constructed of electrons or matter at all. It's constructed of the minutest particles of God thought. Everything, everywhere, all the time is made of consciousness. And the being that realizes this becomes free, eternally free, free to exist as themselves or to dissolve back into the source.
But here's what's remarkable. Sri Yukteswar emphasizes that this isn't just philosophy, it's reproducible science. Kriya Yoga is the technique by which anyone can verify this for themselves, not through belief, not through intellect, through direct experience. The breath contains liphotrons. By controlling the breath and circulating the liphotronic energy along the spine, you can awaken the astral body. You can gain direct perception of the astral realms. You can even touch the causal. It's a technology of consciousness. You can practice it, you can check the results for yourself.
And Yogananda's joy at receiving this knowledge directly from his resurrected guru is overwhelming. He says he's never heard such inspiring knowledge. Through the Hindu scriptures, he's read about astral and causal worlds, but compared with the warm authenticity of receiving it from a master who has literally been there, who has left the body and come back, the ancient texts pale. They're words on paper, but the living transmission from guru to disciple is direct consciousness recognizing itself. That's the real teaching. The guru communicates through presence, not just through words. The consciousness of the guru touches the consciousness of the student directly.
That's actually why the guru-disciple relationship is considered so sacred in yogic traditions. It's not about intellect or belief. It's a transmission of consciousness itself. The guru doesn't have to speak to teach. Their very presence transforms the student. And if the relationship survives death, as Sri Yukteswar is saying, then that presence can continue transforming the student forever. Yogananda summarizes it. The guru tells him, "Here's what I know now that I've died and returned. I am resurrected by divine decree. The teaching I'm giving you isn't metaphor or philosophy. It's the actual map of how consciousness is structured. I've traveled through these realms. I've seen these worlds. And I'm telling you from direct knowledge how existence is organized. The three bodies, the three worlds, the evolutionary ascent through meditation and practice."
What's remarkable is that Sri Yukteswar is saying goodbye in this teaching. He's giving Yogananda everything. All the mysteries he was reserved about on earth because Yogananda wasn't ready, now he's revealing them. Because they're parting. The guru's earthly mission is complete. Yogananda must now take what he's learned and transmit it to the world. The guru is freeing the disciple to stand alone, armed with the deepest knowledge of how reality actually works.
And then the guru says something that echoes through eternity. He says, "Whenever you enter the door of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and call on me, I shall come to you in flesh and blood, even as today." The teaching is that the guru-disciple relationship doesn't end with physical death. The connection is eternal. The transmission continues. As long as the student earnestly seeks, the guru responds. Presence answering presence. Consciousness recognizing itself.
Then the guru vanishes. A cloud voice repeats in musical thunder, "Tell all, whosoever knows by Nirvikalpa realization that your earth is a dream of God, can come to the finer dream-created planet of Hiranyaloka, and there find me resurrected in a body exactly like my earthly one. Yogananda, tell all." The message is universal. It's not meant to stay hidden. It's meant to be shared.
So what's the teaching that lands here? It's that consciousness is the fundamental truth of existence, not matter, not energy as a separate force. Consciousness appearing in infinite ways. Physical bodies, astral beings, causal thought forms, angels, gods, all of it consciousness playing with itself, exploring itself, loving itself from infinite angles. The purpose of the spiritual path is to wake up to that unity, to recognize that you are not separate from the whole. You are the whole, appearing as a part. And that's not poetry. That's the literal architecture of creation.
And the specific practice is Kriya Yoga, the scientifically reproducible technique by which breath and energy can be harnessed to lift consciousness through the three bodies, to awaken the astral, to touch the causal, and finally to escape the cycle entirely. It's not a belief system. It's not requiring faith in anything external. It's a technique that works on the nervous system, on the flow of lifetronic energy. Practice it and you'll know for yourself whether it's true. And that's the gift of having a teacher like Yogananda. He's received this knowledge directly. He's practiced it, he's verified it, and he's sharing it freely with the world, expecting nothing in return except that others find the same truth he's found.
Which brings us to the final transmission in this chapter. The guru is about to disappear for the last time, and he wants to make sure Yogananda carries the message to the West, to the world. He wants the teaching to be as widespread as possible, because it works. It liberates anyone who practices it sincerely. The chapter ends with the guru leaving, but also promising to return. The teaching is that the guru-disciple bond transcends form. Death doesn't break it. Distance doesn't break it. The work continues, and Yogananda is now charged with carrying this knowledge back to the West. He's seen his guru face to face after the guru's transition. He's received the deepest cosmic teaching. He knows now that consciousness is everything. He knows that liberation is possible, and he knows that the path is clear. What comes next is the encounter with Gandhi, a saint of a completely different flavor, a saint who operates in the world through action and service rather than through withdrawn meditation. The teaching continues to show us that there are many paths, many expressions of the same truth. But for now, this chapter sits with us. 3 worlds, 3 bodies, 1 consciousness expressing itself infinitely. The map is given. The journey is each being's own sacred work.
See you next time.
See you next time.